The current state of waste management in Nigeria is a major concern due to the high rate of waste generated and poor management practice. Nigeria produces the most solid global waste in Africa. It's almost 70% of it being plastic waste that winds up either in landfills, water bodies, or sewers. Now, according to the World Bank, Nigeria is the 10th largest producer of unmanaged plastic in the world, accounting for 2.7% of the global total. And according to the World Bank, Nigeria will generate the most unmanaged plastic waste in Africa by 2050. But can this waste be a money spinner for Nigeria and Nigerians? And is it not a means of how it should be done as other climes? And how can we also change waste to money? Well, this is what this edition of The Big Story is all about. And we're talking about the economics of waste management in Nigeria. And we're talking about waste management, recycling it and making it a viable means of earnings for Nigerians. And that's what we're having as a major discourse today on The Big Story. We're talking about the economics of waste management in Nigeria. That to truly help us talk about this is no other but a member of the Nigerian Society of Environmental Society. And we're talking of Mr. Victor Sonji. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mike. Good to see you again.
Well, it's nice to also have you join us this lovely time. And well, it's two different issues: money and waste. Well, anyway, waste is not money, but money is waste. But anyway, we'll not waste time on that, but rather go deep into it. Now, how much of a waste do we generate in Nigeria, and how much waste we produce in Delta State? Because I want us to narrow it down to Delta State in our own base of discussion. But let's just have a total idea, because in my introduction, the World Bank says we produce about 70% of total waste in Africa. So how much do we produce? And if you have any idea of what we also produce in Delta, will help us in our course of our discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mike. Nigeria generates about 32 million tons of waste annually.
32 million
Yes,
tons?
32 million tons of waste. Lagos accounts for about 7% of this. 17% rather.
Okay.
Delta State accounts for slightly less than 5%.
Okay.
That is what you call municipal solid waste. Generally, there are different kinds of waste.
Okay, well, yes, we really appreciate if you can really break it down.
Yes, there are different kinds of waste. There is the municipal solid waste, which is what we might call domestic waste, things you generate from the house. Then there are the industrial wastes, chemical waste, and all of that. But meanwhile, the concept of waste is a bit more psychological than logical, if you ask me. Because
why do you say so?
Yes. What actually is waste? Waste is what you don't know its use. The moment you discover its use, it becomes a raw material. So it is usually that sentiment or ignorance of an intended use or a possible use of a product that makes people call it waste. By the time you discover its use, it becomes a raw material. So those
it's relative.
Yes, it's relative. Principally, it is ignorance that makes people call it waste. So as far as you can discover its use, it's no longer a waste, it becomes a raw material. Everything you can think of on Earth has its use, and perhaps the concept of circular economy helps us to further elongate the possible use of an object or an item.
Okay. Well, anyway, just a quick one. Are we good in managing waste in Nigeria and in Delta State? Let's just look at it. Let's leave the money part of it and look at the waste itself. Undermining is there to generate money, but how have we really been able to manage it in Nigeria and Delta specifically?
I won't answer yes or no. I will give you statistics and you will score yourself. Nigeria manages...
score Nigeria rather.
Okay, score Nigeria rather. Score us. Nigeria manages 20 to 30% of its waste. That is the maximum we can. We've been able to manage. And when I say manage, that includes collection, disposal, and probable elongation of use. So if you score 20 to 30% in an exam,
yeah.
You know what to expect at the end of the semester. So that's how bad it is. So if we
what
have,
seems to be the problem?
Why
have we not been able to?
Like I told you, it's centered around sentiments and ignorance. Basically, if you understand that there is an economic aspect to waste generation and management, then you would discover possible uses of these materials or items that we wrongly dispose. And do not forget that the wrong disposal of these wastes affects us economically, psychologically, and even health-wise.
Yes,
so
most certainly.
Yes, so those are the issues surrounding them.
Okay, now, do you feel that the lack of us not managing it well is a lack of existing laws that deal with the perpetrators? Because is there a lack of laws? Because if you go to other climes, even in Africa, in Ghana, you throw or you dispose your waste just like that. You might be arrested immediately. You might even be cautioned by the next person there. He might even hold you for the law enforcement agencies to come and deal with you. But so is it that we do not have the laws to help deal with perpetrators of those that dispose waste not the right way?
There are two sides to your question. One, you talk about disposing the waste wrongly.
Yes.
If you see waste as a resource, you will not dispose it wrongly.
Okay. But you seem to be going to the economic.
Yes.
I'll beg you to hold your money.
Yes, I would. If you see
let's deal with the law.
Yes. Well, if you see it as a resource, first of all, you will not dispose it wrongly. You'll find a way to take it back to where it will be part of a value chain that will reward the system.
Okay.
Then you talk about laws. I do not think Nigeria is bereft of laws. We have, if you ask me, we have too many laws. But what we lack is implementation.
Enforcement.
Yes, enactment without enforcement is entertainment. So the government should stop entertaining us with policies that cannot be enforced. So when policies are made, they are meant to be enforced. Okay? We have a lot of laws. In Delta State here, we have the Delta State Waste Management Board. What I expect government to do, or what I recommend they should do, is find a way around incentivizing the waste management, waste managers, or the waste management economy. Remove all unnecessary bureaucracies and bottlenecks towards waste collection, disposal, and management. Then it's twofold. On the citizens' part, maybe when we discover how much we can generate from waste, from what we call waste in quotes, then we'll know whether we should throw them out wrongly or preserve them and keep them where they can add to our own micro GDP.
Okay, now anyway, because you keep bringing the money part into it, so let's just really go there. Okay. Now, let's look at the economics of waste management. What wastes? Let's break it down. Let's carry our listeners and audience along. What kind of waste can really generate money?
Every kind of waste, absolutely. Okay. Every kind of waste.
Okay, just break it down for us. So those at home that intend throwing something now or throwing away something now will sit down and have a rethink. So what are those things that we consider waste that can also generate money for us so we do not have any waste?
Okay, let me start from the quick ones and the ones that I think that citizens can easily key into. We have in the municipality, we have different classes of waste.
Let's remove the industrial.
I'll still talk about it, but let me talk about the municipal solid waste. Under municipal solid waste, you have biodegradable and non-biodegradable. The biodegradable waste are the ones that you throw into the environment. They decompose naturally over a short period. Your
short lifespan.
Yes. Your kitchen waste, your all kitchen waste, everything that comes from the kitchen, anything, yes, food produce, yes. Yeah, then you also have, permit me to say, your feces. Yes. So there is a process of converting all of this into biogas and even electricity. Yes.
On a larger scale?
Yes, even on domestic. In Ghana, there is a policy as far back as 2011 that permits people to generate cooking gas from their waste. Even now it's coming into Nigeria. A few property owners are beginning to, or should I say a few contractors or vendors are beginning to sell the idea to property owners. Now, you can convert your feces, your whatever, your solid waste from your toilets to generate electricity, or no matter how small, even if it's to charge your phone and power your house or your street lights, it's still adding to your, helping your economy, rather than pay exorbitant rates for light bills and all of that. You have these small ways you can generate electricity for yourself and help your the sustainability of your property. So that is that on biodegradable waste. Then you talk about the non-biodegradable, like the plastic and metallic waste. Yes, plastic, metal bottles and all of that. Those other wastes that the citizens may not be able to completely leverage on the opportunities in them because of the kind of society we find ourselves. Now, take for instance, you find people who collect PET bottles, they try to recycle them and all of that. The awareness is not there. That is why we, as an NGO, come here every time to sensitize people. Then manufacturers themselves should help us implement a buyback policy plan. Yes, buyback policy plan. Like I always say, if you're able to produce these items, these materials, you should find a way to buy them back, collect them back. If buying back is your problem, collect them back. You should have a means of retrieving these items from the same channels through which you sell.
Which you bought.
Yes, which you sell. I'm talking about the manufacturers now. Yes, which you sell to the public. I'll give you a quick one. Most worker companies, you see them, they have delivery trucks, they have delivery vans, they have means, they have agents who help them access the lower rung of the market chain.
Yes.
If you are transporting a truck, in fact, you ask yourself, when you transport these water, or PET bottles or whatever you have, what do you take back? Usually nothing. So why don't you, through the same channel, save yourself the fuel? You must go back. Why don't you save yourself the associated costs? When you go to deliver, you collect.
In return.
Yes, you collect in return.
And
yes. You collect. And the material
will also be collected and given to you.
When I finish drinking my bottled water, I won't throw it away anyhow. I'll send it back to the same woman or man I bought from. The woman will gather them, incentivize. Maybe if I'm able to collect a handful, gives me 1 or 2 or 3 as incentive.
For bringing.
Yes, for bringing them back. This woman takes it back to the truck. When the truck comes to deliver, the truck collects this in waste. They also have raw materials. They will have raw materials for their next production. Okay.
Rather than going back to the market
or going back to the environment to begin to cut down trees or seek means of generating waste. Plastics for raw materials for their product. I remember and on the other hand too, fossil fuels. Plastics, 90% of plastics are from fossil fuels, which is not good for the environment. So it's a whole lot of activity that both the government, the business sector, the manufacturers, and the citizens must come together and address.
Okay, now let's continue there, because this is more like recycling that you've just made mention about. So let's talk about recycling and the culture here. We do not have it at all, do we? Because if you look at other climes, even in disposing their refuge, it might be in some cities in Nigeria like Abuja and Port Harcourt, and some persons do practice it. They tend to have 2 different waste bags, and those recyclable items will go straihtly into one, and those that will not be recycled will be in the separate one. Now, how much of a culture can we bring that in and see how we can gain from it?
Thank you very much. In waste management, or in recycling, as you choose to call it, segregation.
Oh, that's the name of it.
Yes, segregation is the first point in waste management. Okay. You have to sort. You have to separate this waste. That is the essence of this program, so that we can sensitize people. You separate your waste. It is not all your waste that you model up together. You separate the biodegradable from the non-biodegradable. The ones that are biodegradable, you look for a nearby farm, and dispose them.
Easy way to.
Very simple, very simple. Dispose them in a farm. It becomes a manure for that farm. It becomes a manure for that farm.
So that's why you said there's no waste.
There is no waste. Okay, then the non-biodegradable ones are the ones that I expect manufacturers and players in this sector to review their policies and their strategies in business. So, Mike, that's just it. Very straightforward.
But anyway, it's indeed a straightforward discussion and one we really love. And well, in case you're joining us, we're talking about the issue of making money. And when I mean making money from waste, and many will say we tend to generate a lot, 32
million tons annually.
Well, that's a high one. But anyway, no surprise because of the population we seem to be. And how much of activities we tend to do every day. And looking at all that seems to play out, especially in a country that has the largest economy in Africa. Well, anyway, as much as we're getting the largest economy in the world, we're also producing the largest waste. 70%, according to the World Bank, of waste in Africa is being produced by Nigerians. But how can we make money from that 17%? Knowing how really lucrative it has been for many countries that have implemented that rule, law, guide in ensuring that those waste, rather than being disposed and not disposed properly like it's being done in Nigeria, but rather would end up making more money, not just for the individuals, but also for the country in the long run. And that's what we're really having as a major discourse today on The Big Story. But as much as it's big, I'll tell you we need to go on a break now. But when we come back, we'll talk more centered on the economy of waste management in Nigeria, if we have any. But anyway, we're just trying to see how much we can bring that and see how we can encourage it. Let's go on a break.